home. So yeah, let me share my screen 1 second. Okay. So hi everyone, my name is Laura Cuellar. I am the program manager of the Child Friendly Cities Initiative. And the Child Friendly Cities Initiative is through the Mayor's Office of Education. And so we are very happy to be here. This is an interactive workshop, and we will ask you all to comment, either turn off your mics and say something, or use the chat if you have access to it. But I also know it's 3 p.m. Some of you have been here since 8 a.m. Or 9 a.m., like Alexander mentioned. So if you want to just listen, then just listen. You know, we are very flexible, but we will be asking questions. So just be prepared if something comes to your mind. So again, thank you for allowing this space. So really quickly, let's just get started. I want to get to know you all. We want to know who you are. I know I've met Patrick in the breakout rooms and the mentoring, and he was amazing. And I love working with youth. And I think the more like you share about yourself, the stronger leader you can become. So one of the things I am curious about, and I'm saying me, but I actually, this presentation was done in conjunction with Rimsha and Minju, who are also here. Actually, before we get started, Rimsha and Minju, you want to just say what you do really quickly and your name?
Hi everyone, my name is Rimsha. I am the CFCI Youth Advisor, so I work with both Laura and Minju on this project. I'm basically one of the youth spokespersons on the leadership team to help implement this project.
Awesome. Thank you, Rimsha. Minju, do you want to come off the mic?
Yeah, hi, my name is Minju. I'm an intern at the Mayor's Office of Education, and I help mainly with the CFCI initiative. I help Laura with anything that she needs.
Yes, thank you. Thank you all so much. And I know I kind of put you guys on the spot there, you ladies, but just so you all know, we crafted this presentation together along with the PEAC members, gave some feedback as well. So, you know, wanted you to meet who came together. So Minju had a great question, and she said, because we were like, what do we want to know? So we were like, what about asking youth, what are they passionate about? So in the chat, I'm going to put the link to the CFI, the Jamboard. So I don't know if you all have used Jamboard. It looks something like this. Oops. Let me, yeah. And if I see some of you already on there, great. The big link is on the chat. So if you have access to the chat, you can click on the link and you should be on the Jamboard. But if not, let me show you all the link. If you need to type the link, sometimes I know we have some accessibility problems with the chat. It's a bit.ly and it's 39, a capital V as in vase, and the better one, V as in Vix, and then lowercase etb f. So if you don't have if you have an issue with it, just let me know if you can access the Jamboard. But looks like several of you are already on the Jamboard and already posting on it. Yay! Okay, so really quickly, what we're asking you is, what are you passionate about? The way you do this is if you go on the left, there's a little toolbar there. So if you want to add just like a little post-it note, you click on, should look like that. You click on the little square that has little lines in it. And if you want to add an image, like some of you already did, flowers. Growing flowers, nice. You click on the little square with the little mountains. So I'm going to give us a few minutes to populate that. Oh, money. Okay, who put money? I need to talk to you because we definitely need some funding for the Child Friendly Cities Initiative. So I put there, what I'm passionate about is food. So if you see on the right corner, And by the way, if you guys have any questions on how to use this or any problems, just type it on the chat. But yeah, so food I'm a big foodie, and that is sancocho. It's a stew. It's a chicken or beef stew from Colombia. That's where I'm from. And then of course I'm really passionate about my family. So that's a picture of me and my little brother. And yes, other people are saying family, helping others. Awesome. Dreams, yes. Ideas on reformation. Awesome. Cool. Thank you all so much. Keep populating it. This Jamboard link will be what we'll use throughout the CFCI workshop. And just feel free if you're still looking for images. Oh, is that a movie? Nice. Love
Yes,
that.
that is a movie. And I was fixing to add underneath it, I'm passionate about forest bathing.
What's forest bathing?
You have to watch the movie to find out.
Oh, okay. Okay, that's awesome. Thank you so much, Medicine. Thank you, Miss North. Awesome. I like to sing. Oh, how cool. I need singing lessons. Just that is one thing I cannot do. Okay, so as you all populate this, I'm going to go back to the presentation, tell you a little bit more about myself. As if you're able to see the screen, you kind of see a little bit about my background, and you can see that on LinkedIn, where I went to school, what I've done. But I kind of wanted to share something more about myself so that you understand a little bit more deeper. Sometimes our resume only says part of who we are. So I wrote, it's not a poem, but it's kind of like an introduction, a personal narrative, and I'm just going to read it off really quick. And okay, so let me get started. So for me, children are sacred beings who come to our lives to expand our ability to love, to think, and imagine the possibilities of a new world. My parents are revolutionaries, visionaries, and artists. Growing up, however, I learned that they were also human, and their imperfections affected my well-being. It takes a village to raise a child, and I was very fortunate to find a community in school to heal the scars of my development. For 20 years, I have been a mission to pay it forward and create supportive environments for every child, especially the most vulnerable. The sweetest fruits of my labor have been picked when I have listened intently to children, formed coalitions around their needs, and elevated their voices as they demand a fair fight. I will forever continue to sow the seeds of the ancestors, cultivate courage in young leaders, and bear witness to their blossoming gifts. Join me today in nurturing youth's hopes and aspirations. They are anxiously waiting your arrival. So thank you so much for joining, and let's get started.
Shut.
Hold on a second, what happened there? Let me stop sharing. Something went wrong with my presentation. That's interesting. 1 second, y'all. Let me double check. I don't know why. I'm like, where did that chicken come from? This is something you also should know about. Tech is not my forte, and I am so thankful to, oh, here we go. I am so thankful to PEAC for this. And then can I share my screen again? There we go. There we go. This is the right presentation. I'm so thankful to the PEAC guys for helping me with this. Okay. So where were we? So now that you know a little bit about myself and my lack of tech skills, and I think, oh, you know what? I think it is. What? Pete, can you help me out here? I don't know why it's doing that.
Yeah, which
See how it looks? My presentation looks fine here, but when I play it,
Oh, is it not going in full screen?
oh no.
Okay.
It's so weird. It's like it turns into mush when I play it. Huh. I wonder what's going on. Well, let's try.
Yeah, did you, is it not like reflecting on the actual presentation?
No, it's like changes the slides. It's so weird.
Do you have any other of these tabs open of this type of meeting?
I do. Maybe close those.
Yeah, just, you can stop your sharing your screen. Just do that.
This is it. Let me. So
Okay.
sorry about you. that young. Technology hates me. I really believe that. Like I prepare so hard for technology, and then every time. So anyway, so why are we here today? We're going to talk about the Child Friendly Cities Initiative, and we want you, as I mentioned in my introduction, to join us in this Child Friendly Cities Initiative and be part of it. So what is it? So the Child Friendly Initiative is actually an initiative through UNICEF. UNICEF is an international nonprofit. The initiative is all over the world in 44 countries. So if you see the countries in blue, that's where the initiative is present. So if you're like, oh, I wonder if my country, so if it's in blue, that actually means that in your country or in that country, there is at least one city or one municipality that is considered child-friendly cities. Now, as you can tell, the United States is in red. Why is it in red? It's not a bad thing, don't worry. It just means we're a low flow. So it just means that for the countries that are in red, we're starting the process. So even though the initiative has been around for more than 20 years, in the U.S., the U.S. began this initiative in 2019 officially in the United States. And the good news is Mayor Turner from Houston was actually the first mayor in the United States that signed on to say that he wanted his city to be child friendly. And then after that, we have 4 other pilot cities, including San Francisco, Minneapolis, Johnson City in Tennessee, and Decatur, I believe. And so hopefully more cities will continue. So I'm going to have y'all use the chat or come off mute, whatever you feel most comfortable. So when I say youth-friendly or child-friendly cities, what comes to mind? Like, what do you think of? And come off mute, or you can use the chat.
I was thinking that are like not really that busy, cities that are like they're not like busy, not like rural areas. I was thinking.
Okay, so more like toned down, maybe not urban, not okay. Any other ideas? And feel free to write something on the chat on what comes to mind when you think of child-friendly or a youth-friendly city. Like, what would that look like, or what would that be like? So we mentioned maybe more rural. Any other ideas?
Cities with like parks and play centers for the children.
Yes, that's brilliant. And actually, that is an issue, right? A lot of cities, where do kids hang out? Where can they hang out, right? The mall, but then you have to spend money. School, but that school's not always safe for everyone, right?
That prioritizes the safety of youth and find and establish the foundation of the city in a safer manner with better accessibility.
Absolutely. Like, ours is a city that, or do people feel safe in? Do children feel safe in? Do they have access to go to walk on the street? Is it safe, right? We heard Dr. Kayla's presentation, and she was talking about sometimes the doctor says you need to walk more, but can you walk in your community? Is it safe, right? Awesome. And so I'm looking at the chat. Crime, right? Exactly. So safety seems to be a big issue. Gang violence. Great. Thank you so much for sharing. So we're going to move on, but I appreciate all the participation. So there's two big components when we talk about child-friendly cities. So you all talked about safety and making sure it's accessible, a city that's accessible or has accessible services to youth. And all that is using the framework of children's rights. And what are children's rights? One sec, we will learn more about what they are in a bit. But yeah, we want the policies in the city, the programs that happen in the city, whether it's been from the health department, from the libraries, from the Parks and Rec, from in education. We want them to have a child rights approach, and just bookmark that, because if you're having questions on what does that mean, we will talk about that. And then the big thing is, and this is not something that always happens, is when the city makes decisions about things that are going to affect youth, are youth at the table supporting or giving advice or making the decisions themselves for themselves? So right, so it's like a city that really respects the youth voice and includes it in their policies. And if they're trying to do a new transportation project, are they talking to youth and getting advice from youth and having youth make the decisions as well? That's rare. And that's part of the reason PEAC, right, is doing this policy ideathon, is to give you all the power to create policies, right, and start working on what that looks like. So those are big things here for the child-friendly city. So like, let's talk about child rights. So I've been working with youth, I said, like, since I was a teenager, which is a long time ago. And then before that, I was like a child myself, right? And I never had heard of children's rights till now. That is a problem. That's a huge problem. I didn't hear about it till I started this job, and that was in the summer. So if you've never heard of children's rights, I'm gonna share a link with you all. There's a great document that UNICEF has that explains what are children's rights, and because of timing, we won't have time to go over all of that, but I think you should definitely look like, because all of you are youth, are children, and you should know what your rights are, right? So I shared the link on the chat. Take a look at that on your own time. And so why are we talking about children's rights? Why is this important? So I included some statistics provided by UNICEF on how the US and many countries are actually violating children's rights, right? Or like they're not supporting children's rights. So one of the, please, if you can go ahead and read some of the statistics that I provided. But one of the statistics that, as I'm doing this research about children's rights, really impacted me is to know that in 36 states, children are still being able to be sent to adult prisons. That is not safe for children. And so, I think the juvenile injustice system needs a lot of work and needs to be dismantled, because actually children should not be detained or incarcerated. And so, and obviously we know this through the presentations we've heard today, there's a lot of poverty that exists in not just Houston, but throughout the US, throughout the world, that's impacting the development of children. So this is why. So I think, I'm not going to read off the statistics, but for those of you that have read them, that are this, at least the statistics that are on the slide, what do you think about when you see these? And let me put some questions on the chat. So yeah, so number one, how do these statistics make you feel?
Privileged.
Aha, wow. Can you say a little bit more?
Well, I mean, especially in the area that these reside, since there are actually a lot of gun safety problems in Texas, I feel privileged to not have encountered anything like that. Have like a safe environment and home.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful. Yeah, I think it's so important that you're aware of them, right? So thank you so much for sharing. What about anybody else? And I put the questions in the chat and I just realized I hadn't posted the child rights link, but I think I did now. So you should have access to that. What else? What comes to mind when you hear about the situation of children in this country, right? These statistics.
Well, we do know that these people, the people that do these things, people do more than one, meaning that they're like related with each other. They're kind of interconnected with each other. So if one person does one thing, they're most likely going to do the other two things because they're like really related to each other. Like if you're from like really like bad area or like a low income area, then you're most likely going to do things like gun safety and juvenile detention and stuff like that. So they're just related to each other.
Absolutely. It's all interconnected. Thank you. That's brilliant. And like, I think we also saw that with the presentations we saw today, right? Like our health is affected, our safety is affected if we grew up in a more underprivileged community. And so these are, I think that's one of the reasons I love to work on this project. And I want to, get more kids, more youth involved and get you involved because when I started working with youth, I realized it's not just about just helping them prep for the SAT or helping them go to college. It's about helping all of these aspects, mental health, providing food, right? So I think, yes, thank you for saying that because we are children and as a whole, right? We don't have just like little compartments. We have a lot of different issues that affect us. Great. Anybody else? Like maybe what actions does this make you want to take? Like, I know it's hard to see these statistics, but what are maybe some things that you might want to do or are already doing?
So, like the first thing that came up to my head was something that I learned in the medical side of things, and that is prevention is better than treatment. And I thought to myself, the actions that I want to take are solutions that will prevent outcomes such as child poverty and juvenile detention, and prevent, of course, gun accidents. Prevention is what I was thinking, are the actions that I want to take.
I love that you said that. You know what it makes me think is about when we say go clean up the beach or go clean up, the parks. But it's like, okay, so yes, we should definitely do that, right? Like we should definitely do those service projects. But then how are we preventing that people throw the trash, right? Or like how are we preventing, do we have enough trash cans in the city, right? So it's like thinking about more deeper, right? Like about how do we prevent these problems before they happen, So thank you. That's a great remark. I appreciate that. Anybody else before we continue that want to answer any of these questions? And feel free to also oh yeah, here's a question. So what would be your first prevention action? I love that. Alexander, that one's for you.
Oh shoot.
You can think about it. You can think about it. Meanwhile, Alexander thinks about it. Does anybody want to?
I would go for the gun safety. I would start with gun safety.
Yes. Yeah, thank you so much, Alexander. That is true. And we are lucky that we have organizations like March for Our Lives Houston, right, that we can get involved with and work on that. Awesome. Thank you. Anybody else want to share how these statistics make them feel or what comes to mind when you hear about this or actions that you want to take? And you can use the chat as well. If not, we will continue, but definitely put the chat if you have something that you think about throughout the presentation. So we want to know what's happening in your community, right? So I think one of you mentioned, well, I feel privileged because there's not these different severe issues, right? But that doesn't mean that there's not issues in your community that you witness with your friends, with your family, with your teachers, your educators, your city leaders. So we want to know what's happening in your community. We're going to take the assessment, and let me share the link for the assessment is there, but I will also share it on the chat. And what the assessment is going to ask you a few questions, and this is an anonymous assessment. You don't put your name, so please be as candid as possible. And I know I have a few adults in the line, but this is strictly for ages 13 to 18. So please don't respond to the survey unless you're a youth, so ages 13 to 18. And here's the link. You should be able to access the assessment. It's a Google form. It should look something like this. The CFCI community survey or community assessment. And so just we'll ask you some questions on how you feel about your safety, how you feel about your participation. So for example, one of the questions is, I have a meaningful opportunities to voice my ideas and concerns about the decisions that affect me in the city. So you answer like, is that true most of the time? Sometimes, not really, or I don't know. So go ahead and respond to it. If you have trouble accessing the survey, please let me know. And then we'll give you a few minutes to respond. And they're all multiple choice. So I think there's a few questions at the end on like your school. So you might have to type a few words, but no qualitative at this point. No qualitative questions, but just, yeah, please respond, take your time. And yeah, do we have any questions on this part? And then we're gonna, yeah, go ahead and respond, and then we're gonna see the results live, which is also super cool because, and again, they don't have names, so it won't be like, oh, so-and-so said this, right? But we will after we respond to the survey, we're gonna do some breakout rooms, and you're gonna discuss discuss the results of the assessment. And I know we have, wow, we have at least 30 of you, so that'll be great data for us. And so, yeah, please respond to the survey. And just let us know if you have any questions or trouble accessing the survey. It'll give us about a few more minutes as I see the responses, but I would say, some 5 to 7 minutes. It usually takes people about 10 minutes. So. Awesome, and I see that 4 of you have completed it, so that's good. Thank you so much. And no worries if it's taking you a little bit longer. I know that this is a thoughtful process and thinking takes time. So no rush, you know, we have time. We're just gonna take a few more minutes. I see that at least half of you all had finished the survey. So I'm gonna wait a few more minutes to see if we have a few more responses. Okay, is there anybody still? Let me see. Can I give you all 2 more minutes to complete if you?
Is that the only form you have to do, or is there anything else?
Just one form. Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm gonna give you all a couple more minutes and then I'll start doing, and if you still haven't finished, no worries. I'm gonna do some instructions on what's the next steps. And then you all can, you know, wrap it up. And then we'll send you all in after that into breakout rooms. Okay. Nice, 20 responses. So we're doing good. So I'm gonna go ahead and give you all some instructions. Okay. So as I meant, you know, somebody said about how integrated, you know, the life of the child is to all of the different areas, right? And so again, I mentioned why I like CFCI is because it really considers so many different aspects, as you saw in the assessment, of how to make a child-friendly city. So that includes safety and inclusion, right? Do kids feel safe? Do they feel included? The second area is my participation, right? Like our children participating in the decision making of their city. The third area is community services or social services. Do children have access to quality healthcare, quality education, food, housing? Then the fourth goal area is safe living environment. So is the air that children breathe in Houston clean? Is the water that they drink safe and also clean? So, and then very important, do children have areas to play, parks, access to art programs? So those are just some things, right, that are included. Oops. So next, you're gonna go back to the Jamboard. So if you have it open, that would be great. So what we're gonna do is, let me move on to the Jamboard here. Are you all able to see the Jamboard on my screen?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. So if you go on the Jamboard, the next few slides after, what we're passionate about, and I see that we filled it out with some more stuff. I love that car. It's pretty cool. So if you look at the next slide, you can see the little arrows there. So all the slides are divided into the groups you're going to be and what you're going to talk about. So for example, group 1 and group 2 are going to talk about safety and inclusion. So I know the assessment has all of these different parts, but because of time, we don't have time to talk about all of them. And so you're going to go in your breakout room and just talk about a specific goal area, right? So group 2, for example, you're going to talk about safety and inclusion. And what you're going to do in your groups is, I'm going to put the instructions also on the, I'm going to put the instructions on the chat. So you're going to go into your breakout rooms. The first thing you're going to do is review your goal area again, and that's assigned by group. And if you're confused, just look at what number you're in the chat, right? Like on Zoom, what number you're assigned to, or what number is your group, your breakout room, and that's going to tell you what where in the Jamboard are you. So for example, yeah, so I said like if you're in group 2, then you're in your safety and inclusion. You're going to go ahead and look at the responses. So let me show you really quickly so you can see. You're going to look at these responses, and I'm going to share the link with all of you. You should all be able to open this link so you can see how people responded. And you're going to be in your groups for about 15 minutes. So you're going to take a look. So if I'm in a safety and conclusion, I'm going to review with my group the responses. Okay, so looks like at least it's like split, right? So like half of you are like, yep, I mostly feel safe, I'm good. And then there's 42 or 43% that are actually not feeling so safe, right? So, or not always at least. So then you're going to look at the responses for each of your safety area. And those are the ones you're going to discuss. You can look at the responses for other areas later, but for now, if you're safety and inclusion, you're just going to focus on safety and inclusion. And then you're going to pick somebody that's going to be your note taker on the Jamboard. So then when people are just having a discussion on these questions in your group, just one person per group is going to put whoever's like more apt or who has access, right? Some of us have our laptops and we're like, all set up. So whoever is that person in your group and it's not like on their phone, because that's going to be more difficult, is going to be your note taker, and it's going to add, I think I put, maybe did I have a sample here? No, I didn't. So it's just going to add the comments that people are saying in the group. You can do it through a sticky note. It'll be faster, or through a text box. And so you're going to pick a note taker, and then you're going to discuss, right? So what are our discussion questions? Putting those on the chat. There's 4 questions. Number 1, like, what comes to mind when you look at these responses? How does this assessment make you feel or think about, and specifically in your goal area? Which questions do you find more interesting, right? So is it like the question about police, or is it the question about healthcare, or what question do you think is more interesting and you want to talk more to your friends and family about that? What actions do you want to take, or are you already taking to solve some of these issues? And then come to a consensus as a group if this information was helpful, and who should have this information and for what, right? So that's pretty much it. I know I spoke a lot, and that was a lot, and we're going to give you, like I said, 15 minutes in your group. But before we send you out to breakout rooms, do you all have any questions? Oh, and I forgot, also pick somebody in your group that's going to report back. And we're all going to be able to see it on the Jamboard, right? Like we're going to be able to see what you all talked about, but it would be nice to somebody to just do a quick 1 minute This is what happened in our group. And then we're gonna also join your breakout room. So Rimsha, myself, Minju, and then Joanne. Joanne, do you wanna quickly introduce yourself?
Hi, yes, I'm Joanne Reed. I'm also with the Mayor's Office of Education, and I work with a mental health program called Be Well, Be Connected.
Awesome, thank you. And we're not facilitating, so that's gonna be up to you all. It's your space. We're just there to answer any questions or take notes or just like, you know, make sure that you understand the instructions. So if there's no questions, we can send you all to the breakout room. And yeah, I think that's that. And I think, Bishar, are we gonna just randomly send them out, or do they have to pick the breakout rooms?
So they're just I've already assigned, you know, the rooms. So
Oh, perfect.
yeah, so some of them have 4. So I think up until room 7 we have 4 students each. And after that, rooms 8, 9, and 10 have 3 students.
Okay, great. And I know I said 15 minutes, but now I'm gonna shorten it. Let's do 13 minutes.
Okay.
Y'all can go.
Okay, so I'll open them.
Okay, thank you.
You put us in breakout room. Can you hear me?
Hold on. Who do you see someone at the top?
Yeah, I see Alexander Perez.
I don't see anything in mine.
Alexander, have you been assigned to a breakout room? I think Henry and Anne, I think you guys were assigned to a breakout room. Could you join that, please?
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Henry, if you could join your breakout room also.
Hi, can you send me into another one? I was just in group 5, so if you could send me to another one.
Sure.
Could you place me in a random group, please?
Both of them say. Are you on record? No. Hey, both of them say yay.
Hey, it's recording. It's recording.
No, it's not.
Says
Is it recording? Is it recording on
Just really
yours?
thinks he's funny.
Yes,
Oh,
it's recording.
is it recording on yours?
Yes, it's recording.
Pause it.
Could be helpful as like the government can go seek and identify where a shift is needed in certain communities.
Awesome, Patrick. Thank you so much. And thank you for saying we need more surveys or we need more assessments like this, because that's what we're going to do. And I need your help in that. So I'll talk a little bit more about this. I know we are running a little bit out of time. So group 5, if you can quickly mention what you all talked about.
Yeah, so we focused on the community services, and the response that stood out to us the most was the response to the question inquiring about whether the person has access to professionals that specialize in HIV and other STDs and STIs that they feel comfortable speaking to. So many people denied having access to such professionals. So we thought a way to combat this issue is to provide a source of education on safe sex to youth, perhaps through like schools and other educational institutions. We also thought it would be beneficial to allocate more money towards funding for free or reduced costs contraception, especially in low-income communities that are like more likely to be prone to unwanted pregnancies and STDs.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Yeah, and I thought it was interesting too that you thought that mental health was, right, one of the questions you would like to learn more about. Thank you so much. And then group 6, and I see that, I know groups that the rest of the groups you guys didn't get to put your comments. That's okay. We'll leave that for next time. But group 6, you want to share quickly your insights?
Hi, so we focus like on mental health resources because right now, like with everything going on in the world, like our mental health like is, you know, just bad. So it's like we need resources to reach out, but if there's no resources, then we can't really do things.
Yes. We need to, yeah, I can say so much for this because, I come from California and I live in Los Angeles and I work in Houston, and I can see the difference. There's a lot less resources in Texas than in California, and we need to ask those questions as to why. So thank you, group 6. Awesome. So I'm going to stop sharing and reshare again. So to wrap up this conversation, first of all, beautiful insights, y'all. Like, I'm so happy that I'm here hearing from you all. And like I said, everything you talked about today is not just going to be like, oh, okay, that was nice. Like we're going to use this data and this information to implement your ideas and your suggestions. Now, but we need more than that, right? This is just a one-time event, and these are big issues and big problems, and we need a long-term plan, right, on how to solve these issues. So what my last pitch to you all is to please get involved with the Child Friendly Cities Initiative. You would be working with me, Rimsham, Minju, Joanne, at the Mayor's Office of Education and with UNICEF on these issues. And so, and other city departments, because we're involving other city departments that are also going to be part of this initiative. And so these on the screen, you can see some of the ways you all can get involved. And one of the ways is I want to be able to train you all to do what I just did today, to do a community so that you can facilitate a community assessment in your school or in other neighborhoods, or if you're interested in, maybe you come from a more affluent background, your parents went to college, but you want to help communities that are more in need, then maybe we can train you so that you can go in and talk to other high schoolers that maybe share different experiences. Or let's say, you know, like myself, I came from a working class background, my parents are undocumented, I was undocumented. So maybe you come from more of a background like that, and then you also want to get involved, or you also want to like do something for the people that you love and care for are in your community. So this is one way. So there's a very important, oh no, it's a little bit cut off, but there's a very important training that if you want to do what I just did today with your community or other communities in Houston, there's going to be a training on Saturday, February 20th with UNICEF, and this is a national training on how to conduct these community assessments. Sorry, that time is Eastern time, so for you all, it's an hour before, I believe, so it would be from 12 to 3. The registration link is right there. I will put it on the chat as well. But if you're like, I don't know, you know, sounds cool, but I need to know more information. It's obviously 3 hours of your time on a Saturday. Send me an email. I will talk to you, give you more information. Don't worry. I know sometimes when I was younger and people would be like, just email me, just email me. I would be so nervous. I'd be like, no, no, no. Like, I don't know, like what to say, how to craft the perfect email. I am very informal. I'm very casual. Joanne, Rimsha, Minji will tell you this. Just send me a quick email. Just be like, hey, Lara, I saw you at the Ideathon. Send me more information on how to get involved in Child Friendly Cities, or I want to talk to you. I want to meet with you and learn more. It doesn't mean that means you're signed up and I'm like, now you're, you know, like tied to this project forever. It just means you want more information. So please send me an email. I'll put both the email. Oh, one last thing. I think also send me an email if you're doing some cool stuff with your community. I know a lot of you are leaders with already. So like, I would love to see what youth are doing in Houston. So send more information. And then finally, and I'll put this on the chat, finally, we will be launching a youth ambassador program, which is like, I'm super excited. Rimsha and Minju have crafted this amazing proposal. And we want to start, you know, having you on board in a formal way. So I will be sending you more information, but please email me, because if I don't get an email, then I assume that you're not interested. So email me or sign up for the training, and that's all for me. I know we're way past time and there's another workshop. So if you have any questions, just chat me or send me an email. Thank you all so much.
Thank you very